On this episode of MythBusters, planes,
What happened?
trains,
Oh, it's perfect.
and propeller-mobiles.
Come on, baby.
It's chalks away as Adam and Jamie tackle the mystery of the shredded plane
I'm so excited, man.
and creating fire without matches. Cavemen could do it, but can these guys?
So all is lost. We do.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage,
Ants are all over my head, man.
Jamie Hyneman,
Gets me all worked up just looking at it.
Tori Balachi,
Whoa.
Carrie Byron,
That was crazy!
and Grant Imahara.
Go get him, boy.
Between them, over 50 years of special effects experience.
Go.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. To MythBusters fans, this abandoned naval yard should look very familiar. It's one of Adam and Jamie's favorite haunts. It's a place where they can get away from it all. A place where they can find a little peace of mind. A place where they can smash stuff up. Well, they're back, and that can only mean one thing. Some large-scale destruction is just around the corner.
Care to explain what we're doing out here with 700 feet of track, a 380 horsepower airplane engine mounted to a train car, an airplane fuselage, and 10,000 bags of sand?
This all started with an email that was circulating all over the net, and it had the image of an airplane that got neatly sliced up.
Oh, like a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't look appropriate to the explanations that were given.
What was the explanation?
Well, there were a couple of them, actually, and the first one was that a disgruntled ex-wife went after the plane with a chainsaw.
Okay, I see some very reasonable destruction in our future.
So, first up, the ex-wife explanation.
Hi there.
Adam's on the prowl for a plane to shred.
I need some more aircraft parts.
Okay, well, you're in the right place.
All right, you got some fuselages I might be able to walk away with?
Sure.
Kenny Faith runs Faith Aircraft in Sacramento. His birds have all had their wings clipped.
What I need is a couple of fuselages, at least 2, hopefully 3.
Adam scours the lot looking for suitable candidates.
Wow, this looks absolutely exactly like the one I'm seeing in the picture here. I mean, it's really close. That's fantastic.
He finds 3 planes that fit the bill.
And this is the last one.
Nowadays, it takes a forklift to get these babies off the ground.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
Even decrepit craft don't come cheap. So Kenny and Adam do a deal. Kenny will slice the price if Adam agrees to slice each plane in half and take just the tail end. Hang on, is Adam confirming the myth right now? True, he's not actually using a chainsaw, but the words hot knife and butter spring to mind.
Right down. I'm actually starting to believe that this myth might be plausible.
Whoa! Whoops.
You must obey.
You know, Jamie could wear this on Halloween, and he could really go out as the Bullet.
Okay, let's recap the myth.
Right, Jamie. For this scene, your motivation is your jilted lover. He doesn't care about you anymore. He's found a younger thing. And then want to wreck his pride and joy with neat vertical slices.
What, no elaborate setup, no scale tests, no blueprint plans? This could be the quickest myth bust on record. If Jamie can start the chainsaw. Jilted Jamie gives the plane some gills. The cuts are like notches on the belt of a cheating lover. At first glance, it looks like the myth could be confirmed. Or is it?
I see these these little tiny scrappy marks all the way up and down, which I didn't see in the picture.
The edges are too jagged and uneven. The cuts in the picture are clean. That surgical precision is impossible with a chainsaw.
After 30 years of doing this kind of thing, Jamie's got a rock-solid eye for measurement. He actually did cuts that I would call it almost exactly 7 inches apart, which is totally accurate to what we see in the picture. It's still, I think it's the best effort we could do with a chainsaw, but I don't think that it matches what we see.
I don't get why somebody would make this neat little pattern on the side of an airplane if they were really pissed off. Maybe cut the plane in half, maybe cut the tail off, you know, a few other things I could think of, but this pattern, what's that about? It doesn't make any sense.
That's supposed to keep you up in the air.
Okay, so assuming the photo is real, and assuming a chainsaw-wielding woman wasn't responsible, how did it happen? Jamie has another tale to tell.
Well, the story goes that an airplane got loose in a hangar and ran into another airplane, and the props caused this damage.
Yeah, I read that, and it really sounds kind of fishy to me. But I'm not sure how to test this besides taking the photo to a forensics lab and working out the math. I mean, what do you think?
I think we need to destroy some more airplanes.
Do it full scale.
Yeah, mayhem, destruction, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely
That's
radical.
what we do.
So let's go over that scenario again. For some reason, a pilot has to hand start his plane. This means getting out of the cockpit and spinning the propeller. The propeller starts, but before the pilot can get back in the cockpit, the plane careers off across the tarmac and crashes into another plane, the spinning prop gouging a precise pattern in the fuselage.
We're at the West Valley Flying Club in Northern California, about an hour south of MythBusters Central, to find out 2 things. One is it even possible to hand start a modern airplane? And 2, what are the physical characteristics of them? We're going to measure up some and see if it is remotely possible for one plane to inflict the kind of damage we see on another.
General Manager Josh Smith has lined up a plane similar to the one in the photo.
Let's do it from 9 o'clock and let's do it from 6 o'clock.
9.5 inches from 6 o'clock.
This plane is exactly the same kind of high-performance single-engine airplane that is outlined in the myth. So these measurements should be perfect for us to figure it out.
Okay, 24 inches.
Now, in aviation's early days, hand propping was the only way to start a plane. Those daring young men in their flying machines defied decapitation every time they wanted to go uppity-up-up. It was enough to get any pioneering pilot all up in the air. Nowadays, waking your winged steed is all done from the safety of the cockpit. Well, usually.
Typically, the only reason you would ever have to hand start a plane is if your electrical system goes flat. So like similar to a car, your battery runs dead.
Is there a difference between a normal starting speed and a hand starting speed?
The typical idle speed will be around 600 RPM. You know, typically right after you throw the prop on a takeoff start, regardless if it's electrical or done manually, it's going to be around 12 to 1500 RPM.
Is that enough to propel the plane forward?
The plane, depending on the surface, will generally move forward even at like 600 RPM.
In fact, a pilotless plane that's run away on the runway could reach about 30 miles per hour. Time for Jamie to chance his arm and his other extremities, starting this prop.
When you throw the prop, what is essentially a thrust-creating device once you're flying now becomes a decapitation device if you're not careful when you're hand starting it. So my advice is never try this at home.
Unlike the myth, our plane does have someone in the cockpit, ready to keep a tight rein on the horsepower.
Oh, getting nervous.
Should Jamie actually get it started.
Oh, you're gonna get it this time, Jamie.
That feels like, it's just like, you know, it doesn't feel like it's doing anything. I think I could be here all day long.
Once again, nothing ever goes the way we originally thought it would go.
Okay, now what?
We're moving to a smaller plane, this one right here behind me.
This time, Adam tries to start a revolution.
Oh, that was so close!
Yay!
Even though Jamie was not able to hand start this plane, we discovered some really vital facts for the myth. One is, it is possible to hand start one of these. Two, it's considered very bad practice to hand start one without someone sitting at the controls because they have to throttle it back from the idle speed. Three is, if you hand start it, it'll go right to 1500 RPM, and if you don't have someone sitting behind the wheel, it's just going to start rolling across the tarmac.
Good job.
Thank you, sir. All right. I think it's time to get back to this job.
It's the classic castaway scenario. A plane wreck survivor, in this case Tom Hanks, is washed up on a desert island, and he's got his Zippo wet. To survive, Tom needs fire, which, he discovers, is about as easy as getting blood from a stone. Now, Tori, Grant, and Carrie are going to be stranded on their own desert island.
I think we're all gonna die.
Their quest? Fire without matches.
So Jamie, with all your years of being an outdoor survivalist, have you ever had to start a fire without matches?
Yeah.
Would you like to go into that?
Well, I've done the typical thing with the sticks, you know, the string and the bow, and you rotate it until you build up a coal. It's pretty tricky, but I've done it.
Well, that's one we're gonna try. We're gonna try a few more to see if we could start a fire without using matches. One, we're gonna polish the bottom of a soda can with chocolate, see if we can use it like a mirror. We're gonna use steel wool and a battery. We're gonna see if we can start a fire with a bullet. And the last one is see if we can start a fire with ice.
Well, that one I'd like to see.
He'll get his wish, but first on the chopping block, it's the classic fire starting technique. So, can our bright sparks pit their wits and light their fire?
Obviously, you can't just take any two pieces of wood and start rubbing them together and get fire, so.
I thought that was the idea.
Well, there's gonna be a little bit of preparation.
Gasoline, gunpowder.
Unfortunately, like Tom Hanks in Castaway, they've got nothing but wood, elbow grease, and a dim and distant memory of their cave-dwelling ancestry.
Ready to give it a try?
I gave it a shot, but this one, you're being very optimistic with this one.
Okay.
Carrie's normal enthusiasm has already been extinguished.
It is just as much fun as it looks.
You know, if you don't get this lit, we're gonna vote you off the island.
Any scouts watching might want to look away. This ain't pretty.
Oh, shnikey.
Seems like he's off the island, too.
I'm getting smoke, but I'm not getting any embers.
Oh, my arms are so tired.
I think we're all gonna die.
With things looking grim for our castaways, they decide to boost their chances with some primitive technology.
This is definitely it. Hey, I got the bow working.
Yeah?
There's a lot to coordinate here. This is like skiing or something.
Grant slips into hysteria, the first stages of desert island madness.
Okay.
Desperate measures are called for. Like a power drill, which Carrie claims to have found in the wreckage.
Oh, I'm seeing some black.
I see smoke.
Oh, it's smoking.
So that's as fast as we have to get it going?
They seem to be busting the myth that where there's smoke, there's fire.
She's getting black wood, she's getting smoke, and we're still not getting an ember.
Even with modern technology, our MythBusters are looking like a bunch of fire retardants.
I need a battery change on this.
While Carrie and Tori fail at cheating, Grant stays true to the myth with a prehistoric hand drill.
What the hell is that?
Hey, they laughed at Galileo too.
It's perhaps worth remembering at this point that Neanderthals had fire-making whipped over 100,000 years ago.
Oh, geez, did you feel the heat coming from that?
Our hapless hominids are stuck between a rock and a hard place.
All
You
right.
know, maybe we should be building a raft or something.
So how's Tom Hanks doing? Through a process of trial and error, necessity at last gives birth to invention. When Tom's tinder catches flame, his celebration resonates across 1,000,000 years of mankind.
The very hardest part about all this is we know it's not a myth. We know you can make fire while rubbing two sticks together. It's been proven over and over. It's just that we really suck at it.
And because they suck at it, they keep cheating.
Look under F for fire.
Or how about G for gunpowder?
Would you call using gunpowder cheating?
Look, we got fire!
Woo! Look at that. All it took was rubbing two sticks together.
It worked.
Fantastic.
Wow, what a result.
It's fair to say they're not setting the world on fire.
He'll be coming around.
So, starving and beaten, they call in an expert and venture into the untamed wilderness of the car park.
You ought to be able from start to finish to get fire in anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes, depending on what you have.
According to survival expert Peter Wolf, Grant was on the right track with his bow.
I want to use my full drill. You see that dark dust forming? I want that hole as big around as my drill.
For tinder, the Wolfman favors the yucca leaf.
Now I'm going to use a nice large bundle here, as you don't want to catch your fibers while you're right in the middle of making a nice coal. See how straight the bow is?
Yeah.
You want to keep it level, keep your string in the middle. Use the whole bow.
What the heck?
Dude, nice job.
Meanwhile, Adam and Jamie are out of the fire and into the flying plant.
I'm having trouble visualizing what happens between these two planes when they hit, between the propeller, the body of the plane, all that stuff. I'd like to do a mock-up of these planes in scale and figure out the math of speeds and RPM. It'll give us at least a really good starting point to work out the logistics of the large-scale experiment.
Right, well, that sounds like a great idea. While you're doing that, I've got a lead on an engine that I found on the internet, so I'm gonna go check that out.
Okay.
Step 1. Adam digs out some diagrams, which he'll blow up to 1/12 scale.
1/12 scale means that 1 inch will equal 1 foot. This will allow me to measure out and match to the photo the amount of slices and their distance apart, and then calculate from that the exact speed that the Runaway plane must have been traveling at.
This calculation is crucial. Adam's math can't have the plane moving any faster than 30 miles per hour, the top ground speed of a runaway plane.
Oh, perfect.
Jamie, meanwhile, is shopping for an aircraft engine.
Can you tell me what the idle speed on that engine is?
And before you know it, a 380 horsepower 6-cylinder engine is touching down, direct from an aviation school in Ohio.
All right, so here's how the myth is supposed to have worked. Our little pilot man, he climbs out of his plane, he walks over. Oh, I think I better hand start this plane. The plane starts to go. Oh no, I better get out of here. He dives for safety, and the plane travels and starts to go into the victim plane. This myth is looking really, at least physically possible at this point. I was wondering how the wing of this plane would get past the tail of this plane. But I've got everything at its correct elevations here, and from everything that this tells me, the Runaway plane clears relatively, the wing clears relatively underneath the back of the shredded plane. And right there, this myth is starting to seem like it might be possible. Now I think it's time to do some math.
The key to determining the speed of the plane lies in working out the distance between the slices. Adam works out that the plane in the picture is punctured every 7 inches.
Perfect.
My marks here are matching up to the photo in terms of their spacing on the body of the plane.
If the prop's spinning at 1,500 RPM, how fast does the plane have to be going in order to make slices 7 inches apart?
It would make 4,500 slices per minute. So 4,500 times 7 inches is 31,500 inches. Multiply that, divide that by 12, I get 2,625 feet per minute. Multiply that by 60 for the hours, I get 157,500 feet per hour. Divided by 5,280, the number of feet in a mile, and I get 29.8 miles per hour. A totally reasonable speed for this plane to be traveling at. I can't wait to tell Jamie. He's gonna say, well, that's what I was hoping to hear.
That's what I wanted to hear. You know, because if it was 600 miles per hour, there's a problem.
Or 2 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So far, the pieces are falling into place. We know a plane can be hand-started. And thanks to Adam's scale cutouts, we know the math stacks up.
The next question is whether the prop itself is capable of making those neat little slices.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything else is lined up, but that's the one remaining bit.
This next one I'm excited about. We're gonna try to light a fire with a bullet. And the idea here is to pull the bullet out of the casing, empty the gunpowder into your kindling, put the empty shell back in the gun, and shooting at the gunpowder, igniting it, and igniting your kindling.
The key to this neat idea is the firing cap at the bottom of the cartridge. Normally, it ignites the gunpowder, which fires the bullet from the shell. According to this myth, to start a fire, just remove the bullet, pour out the gunpowder, and use the firing cap as a firelighter. With 9 bullets in a clip, theoretically they'd have up to 9 shots at starting a fire. They collect gunpowder from 9 bullets and head for the MythBusters blast chamber, where they use up all 9 lives. These cats are going to have to think again.
Do you have any more ideas up your sleeve?
It seems kind of funny not being able to light gunpowder. I mean, it's so flammable and all, you'd think it'd be a snap. But, you know, here on MythBusters, we find ways of making easy things hard.
The problem is that the firing cap won't ignite the gunpowder unless it's compressed by a bullet.
When you have the bullet compressing the gunpowder up against that cap, then you have that connection. Otherwise, if there's no bullet, the cap just blows the gunpowder out like confetti.
So they decide to recalibrate the myth with a rifle, a bullet, and some cloth.
Hopefully, since there's more gunpowder in the round, it'll ignite the cloth and we'll have a burning ember shoot out of the barrel.
And we won't have all of our gunpowder just blown away.
With any luck, the wad of cloth will compress the gunpowder sufficiently to achieve ignition.
All right, so that's packed tight in there.
Holy. Nope.
With the prospect of raw fish for dinner again, Carrie urges a radical rethink.
Maybe it's time to start replicating the results and actually just make it happen instead of trying to make it happen the way the myth says.
Tori suspects that the black powder used in old-fashioned muskets is more flammable than the smokeless gunpowder in modern bullets. So he quickly sets up an experiment.
This is the black powder, this is the smokeless powder.
Okay. Oh, quick. Slow.
So that's why I think it benefits us to go with the black powder.
I don't know, it looked to me like the smokeless was on longer. It seems like that should be better for us.
But did you see how easy it was to ignite the black powder? If it's easier to ignite the black powder, we're gonna get a better chance of igniting our cotton. It ignites faster, like that.
So take 1 musket and a measure of black powder. Then ram home a wad of cotton. Finally, add a firing cap and cross your fingers.
Yeah!
At last, fire in the hole takes on real meaning.
That's it. Yeah!
Meanwhile, another MythBuster is feeling a little under the gun. Seems a few gremlins have set up shop in the engine. And while Jamie might be a propeller head, he's no aircraft mechanic.
The default is supposed to be out.
That way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, this guy is.
Back it up.
His name is Earl Hibbler, and his colleague is propeller specialist Brian Sullivan. They've agreed to help Adam and Jamie make this myth take wing. But it won't be easy.
You know, when you get an engine from an A&P school, you have students that take it apart, put it together, take it apart, put it together, take it apart, put it together, and not necessarily right.
We've detected a few problems, bad magnetos, which give the spark plugs their spark. We also are missing a fuel pump, but Brian and Earl seem to think that we can solve those problems by the end of the day. They said they have no idea what the word no means, and they're going to get this thing running.
While Earl and Brian get down to business, Adam and Jamie use the time to do a little research.
You know, propeller damage is not nearly as rare as I originally thought when we started this whole myth.
In fact, in 2001 in New York, 2 planes collided on the runway and had prop damage.
Well, actually, in 2005 in Chino, California, the same type of accident happened.
And then in 1986 in Santa Paula, California, 2 planes collided at 150 feet in the air and had prop damage.
You know, prop damage isn't limited only to planes. In 1983 in Quincy, Washington, a car on the ground was contacted by a plane, and the 3 passengers were actually injured.
And then finally in Concord, California, in 2004, an airplane landed on a freeway and sliced up a minivan, nearly amputating the leg of an 11-year-old girl.
Meanwhile, back in the grease pit,
This engine's fixing to become very dangerous. Are y'all ready?
Excellent. You ready?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Clear.
Earl and Brian have got that engine purring like a kitten. An asthmatic kitten who's just run the New York Marathon. Adam uses a tachometer to check the propeller's RPM.
Well, that easily made it to 1,500. We actually got up to 2,000 RPM there.
But while the engine starts okay, it just won't keep going. Earl's diagnosis? Dirty fuel injector servos.
I bet it's servo.
Think we're just pouring fuel on it or no fuel? No.
Yeah, I think it's just pouring fuel.
I don't know whether we have to climb all the way inside of it and try and clean it out, or whether we ought to delay the shoot, but we're definitely running out of time. And this beautiful engine's proving really problematic.
So the idea is you take a piece of chocolate, rub it on the bottom of your cola can, which is pretty dull. Chocolate acts like
An abrasive.
a mild abrasive.
Okay.
And after time...
So we're going to try to polish this up to a mirror finish.
Right.
It's a cunning use of the concave shape at the bottom of a soda can. According to the myth, it can focus the sun's rays into a single point, creating enough heat to start a fire.
Go.
It sounds simple enough, which is a copper-bottom guarantee that it's anything but.
Okay, you guys are about 9 minutes into it. How far off do you think you are from a mirror finish?
About 100 freaking years.
According to the myth, polishing with chocolate will help to remove the oxide layer and erode the tooling marks.
Imagine you're freezing right now and it's getting dark and our lives depend on it.
If it's getting dark, we won't have any sun, so we won't be able to light it anyway.
Good call.
So all is lost. We're doomed.
6 solid hours of polishing later, and this survivalist is losing the will to live. And the results aren't exactly dazzling.
So what we need to do is get all the sun's rays, which are all traveling about parallel. The reflector's going to take them and focus them in on one point, because it's parabolic.
First up, Grant's effort. The fire extinguisher may be a little optimistic.
I don't want to discount your work, but I don't think this is going to work very well. Should we move on to the next can?
Yeah.
Get one a little bit
If
more
it's-
mirror finish?
Yeah, if it's dull, it means that that light is not getting it's actually bouncing off a little bit, getting dispersed.
Tori's can is much shinier, and right away, the parabola produces an encouraging hot spot on the leaf.
It's going, it's burning.
But they can't hold the leaf still enough. The hot spot keeps moving.
Let's say that we found some wire from the wreckage in the plane. We'll make an arm that comes up that will hold whatever we're trying to burn.
And sure enough, by keeping the tinder steady, the hot spot soon ignites.
Ow! Oh, the thing's burning my hand.
It's hot, it's smoking, it's fire. So the can. You just want to hope your doomed plane was carrying a large cargo of chocolate and soda.
Here's the trick I'm sure you've all been waiting for. This is, how do you start a fire with a flashlight?
The next myth is a big favorite with survival expert Ron Hood. He knows only too well the benefits of being able to make a cooking fire in the wilderness.
Here's the trick. Steel wool. What we want to do now is touch it across these contacts and see if we can make a contact that'll ignite some of the steel wool. Look at there. Fire. Ouch, it's hot too.
It's like taking candy from a baby, right? Wrong.
Man, it was close.
That's hot.
You're getting sparks. Yes, yes.
Oh, no.
Eventually, as starvation begins to set in, they get their precious ember.
There's smoke. There's definitely smoke.
Smoke they've got plenty of. There's no shortage of smoke. And on the edge of asphyxiation, they get fire.
Hey, proof of concept, yay!
Cool. We did it.
Fire. We better put this out before Jamie sees it.
Don't worry, guys. Jamie's a little preoccupied right now.
Get it, Brian.
That engine still won't start. The long day is taking its toll.
I even see for the first time some grease on your nose.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, it does happen.
Try to get that steel washer on there.
Well, I'm trying to fit Joe right now. Rope?
Stop right there.
Finally, as darkness descends, a ray of light.
Wow! It will run good enough to do what they want to do.
Woo!
Right, they've got a working engine and a lethally spinning propeller. Now, how are they going to turn half a plane into a realistic target aircraft?
We're going to do that by making a frame out of tube steel. Lots of cutting and welding of little bits. We'll make it so that we can bolt tail end after tail end onto this framework, as well as we'll make this so that we can put appropriate weight on it to simulate what the real target plane would be like.
Soon, the guys, looking like a couple of cut-price superheroes, are cutting and welding up a storm.
Love welding. That's why I love welding. You come in the morning and there's just a pile of steel. Leave at the end of the day and there's a bloody airplane.
Well, a rudimentary airplane anyway, complete with wings and landing gear. The whole thing will have to weigh the same as a fully fueled light aircraft, about 2,500 pounds.
What happened?
We need to add... What happened is we need to add some weight up here.
Well, it held.
At the moment, the whole thing weighs just 500 pounds. But after a successful raid on a few local gyms, they find another 2,000 pounds.
The hope is that when the actual experiment occurs, this target plane will react the same way a real plane would. In other words, a real plane wouldn't be just anchored to the ground. It wouldn't be super light. It's going to react to this attacking plane.
We've got a working engine. We've got the fuselage we need. Now we just have to work out how to crash these things into each other without killing ourselves.
Yeah, well, to replicate the actual physics of the real event, we need to make these two devices weigh the same as the planes they represent.
And they've got to travel at like 30 miles an hour. What if we did it on train tracks?
That sounds like a good idea. I think there are some railway areas around here that we could use.
And we just need some kind of railway car platform to put them on.
You got it.
So here's the plan. The engine will be mounted on a railway car. With the engine roaring and the prop spinning at 1,500 RPM, our runaway plane will taxi along the track straight into the target rig.
Here at the Railway Museum, they have what they call service carts, which might be perfect for our needs. A four-wheeled cart that rides on train tracks that we can bolt our engine structure to and be safely in the distance, and yet we know it's going to hit its target perfectly.
Adam soon finds his shred sled.
Oh, it's perfect. This is perfect.
It's perfect, apparently.
I don't want to motorize this thing. I want it to take off just because the propeller's spinning, just like a real plane would.
Thing is, the rig will need rails to run on and sufficient room to build up speed, say about 1,000 feet. But where on earth is Adam going to find that much railway track just lying around?
This looks like the perfect stuff.
Once again, it's off to that myth-busting mecca, the abandoned naval facility, where there's a tangle of rail line.
Things I really like about it are it's nice and remote. It's not near any other buildings or anything. We can all be way back there when this happens. It's a nice straight shot, which we haven't seen here before. 1,000 feet of straight track.
All right, so this last technique is gonna freak your mind out. It's getting fire from ice. And the idea is to take a block of ice, rub it until you get the shape of a lens, and then taking the sun's rays and focusing them into your kindling.
For this myth, our castaways have left their desert island and are stranded in an icy wasteland. But to make fire, any old ice won't do.
All right, so you guys are looking for some clear ice, right?
Yeah. Look at that. How long does it take to make something like this?
These take 3 days to freeze. The 4th day, it's done. You let it cure for 1 day inside the tank where they're made.
These specially produced clear ice blocks are used for creating ice sculptures. So where does our ice alchemist stand on this myth?
When you first said that, I said no way. But then I have thought about what you're saying, and where it sounds right in principle, I just don't know about the physics of that.
Remember when you were a kid and those endless summer days spelled death for ants? Antocide relies on refraction. The convex shape of the lens bends sunlight into a single hot point. A lens made of ice should work the same way. What could possibly go wrong? It's crystal clear that this ice is their best chance of sculpting a lens which can focus sunlight and make fire.
Now, how do you get it so clear?
What we do is we agitate the water with 13 pounds of air pressure, and it causes all the atoms and the molecules to fly around inside this block. Only the most pure freeze from the outside in.
So all the impurities kind of collect
in the middle, and we suck it all out with a pump and then fill it back up with a filtered water.
The boys go dumpster diving for some large chips off the old block. Back in the frozen wastes, Carrie starts sculpting herself a lens.
I hope this is really going to work. This is the most interesting idea of all the fire starting methods I could think of. I mean, if you're someplace frozen, you need a fire more than anything else.
Trouble is, she isn't someplace frozen.
Getting more and more slippery as it melts.
To make matters worse, Carrie finds that getting a lens shape without precision instruments is hard work, even for a sculptor like herself.
Man, this could be harder than I thought.
Grant, meanwhile, has turned his back on tools.
Since we don't have a machine shop out here in the wilderness, I'm starting off by making a round shape with the rock. Oh, jeez, it's cold. Actually, it seems to work pretty good, and you can see magnification. And I think that that is what is going to help us focus the sun's rays. I think I'm almost ready to try it.
Outside, it's hot, bright, and melty.
Quick, before we lose our lens.
I'm getting a pretty good pinpoint of light here.
A skin test shows that the hot spot is, well, hot.
See how long I can stay here?
Fire from ice may not be as crazy as it sounds.
We got smoke.
Smoke.
It's a glimmer of hope for our frozen castaways. But the sun's heat is a double-edged sword. As the lenses melt, the hot spots dissipate.
My lens is getting smaller and smaller.
Looks like it's back to the drawing board.
One idea we had was making a mold of a pre-existing lens. So I have this magnifying glass. What I'm gonna do is build a box around it, fill it with silicone, make a silicone mold, cut it out, fill it with water, freeze it, and then we'll have a ready-made lens.
Tori's hoping a perfect lens will provide the requisite spark before the ice melts. Meanwhile, Carrie's going global.
I'm working with the idea that a perfect sphere is going to focus the light into a tiny little spot. So, I mean, I think this is pretty good. For doing it by hand, I'm not going to get it too much more perfect.
Tori and Grant will try and replicate the special method of freezing they picked up at San Francisco Ice.
And then if we just keep agitating this as it freezes, hopefully we'll get a clear lens.
Industrial ice makers use pressurized air to agitate the water, which is filtered during freezing. Grant and Tori make do with a household freezer, an electric massager, and some crossed fingers.
Check it out, though. Look at the water.
That's good. That's more like what we saw at the place.
Yeah.
The following morning sees our Arctic castaways out in the California sun for one final shot at conjuring fire from ice.
Come on.
Carrie's crystal ball has the advantage of size, shrinking the melt factor. The boys' precision lens is anything but.
It's not very clear. In fact, it's pretty far from clear.
We've got a light blocking device.
Then Carrie comes to the rescue.
I'm smoking! I'm smoking!
What?
I'm smoking!
Oh! That's gonna do it.
Nice work, Carrie Byron.
Matches? Who needs them? Today's the day the MythBusters hope to shred a plane. They've got 1,000 feet of track, an aircraft engine welded to a railway cart, and a target plane just waiting to feel the kiss of the propeller blades. It's shaping up to be one of their most spectacular and dangerous experiments.
I just love doing that.
But before the mayhem and mania, the mundane, they have to clear the runway for takeoff.
The track seems like it's really nice. It's in good shape, but there's a lot of dirt built up around it, and we need to have it clear so that the railway wheels can get down in the groove and seat properly.
But there are rumblings on the chain gang.
Only another 800 feet to go.
Dude, this is gonna get old real fast.
Sorry, I'm already there.
Okay, this is not how they sold this to me. They told me today there's gonna be airplanes and there's gonna be a crash and everything's gonna explode and it's gonna be really cool. The second I got here, Adam handed me a pickaxe and a broom and actually said, put your back into it.
A derailment would spell disaster, and Foreman Jamie isn't happy with the hoeing.
It's the little kind of rough spots that they glazed over. I mean, we got it more or less cleared. We could make the run, but I want to make sure that it's as pristine as it can be because this thing has no shocks. You know, it's going 30 miles an hour and it's steel to steel. We need to have a smooth bed.
If Jamie's a little edgy, it's probably because he's done the math and understands the phenomenal physics involved.
Is that feeling okay, Jamie?
No.
This engine rig weighs 1.5 tons, as much as a real light plane, and it'll be traveling at 30 miles per hour when it hits the target, generating about 800,000 foot-pounds of force. Grant's fashioned a remote cutoff switch. Just push a button, and the engine is immediately disabled.
So up is kill?
Yeah. Up is go.
Oh, okay.
And then down is safe.
Cool. Good job.
Thanks.
That and 10,000 pounds of sand should ensure that our runaway plane doesn't run away. Joe Rakow is an aerospace specialist who studied the aftermath of thousands of air disasters. Now he's helping cause one.
What we're looking at after impact is that the entire mass could slide as far as 20 feet, and also pieces of the fuselage or pieces of the propeller could, in theory, fly on the order of miles given the energy that they have at impact.
That's a pretty sound argument for being a long way away.
That's it.
A bunker is erected on the other side of the dry dock.
Oh, it was nice now.
We're nearing departure. Propeller and plane are lined up.
Given what I'm seeing, we want to line this flat panel up exactly in line with the side of that cart, and we'll be at the perfect relationship.
Okay, we're done. Let's anchor this puppy.
Time for a pilot run.
We want to make sure all these systems work before doing the final test, because we only have one shot at this. That means everything has to be going as good as we can make it go, so that that test is as accurate as possible.
For the rehearsal, they're going to keep the engine on a long leash, just in case. But it doesn't look like making a getaway.
There seems to be a short in the kill switch circuit. Over.
I understand.
So now, you got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That seems good.
Okay, cool.
The engine starts taxiing, reaching a dizzying 9 miles per hour. Hope it has more grunt than that, or this flight will be canceled.
Needs more power.
Yeah, I think it does.
Remember, they're aiming for around 30 miles per hour.
Do you want Grant to kill the engine?
Yeah, go ahead and kill the engine. Let's see if it does it. Copy, killing the engine.
Work. Hey! That worked beautifully.
Yay!
This engine is leaking at every possible seal, internally and externally. Whether or not this was the last thing we're going to do to it, it's the last thing we're going to do to it.
Captain Earl and co-pilot Brian goose up the throttle. This time, a runaway success.
Man, it was tugging at the reins. It was trying to be let loose. It was beautiful to see. I have no doubt that once we release this thing, it's going to be like a freight train, very much like a freight train, and that it's going to work.
It's crunch time. Literally.
Everyone takes cover.
That is a monster of an engine.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard MythBusters Flight 101 to Shred City.
Oh my God.
Please fasten your seatbelts and prepare for takeoff.
Come on, baby. Come on, stay there. Keep going. Come on.
Moment of truth.
Yeah!
Contact.
I'm awaiting an all clear.
Now that is a shredded plane. The engine performed perfectly. The high-speed camera shows the prop blade slicing through the fuselage as though it was made of cardboard. Trust me, you wouldn't want a window seat.
That's exactly the slice pattern we see in the picture. I mean, it's a little bit different, but we see that the airplane, it's a little bit excited. I'm so excited, man! It's exactly what we see in the picture. It's vertical slices from the blade. That's just, I'm stunned.
I think we lined it up pretty good.
Dude, give me some skin. Ow!
So what's the verdict?
Well, this one I call plausible. I mean, in fact, both versions of the story that we tested, we were able to replicate slices on our target plane that really closely matched what we saw in the photograph.
Yeah, and since we did the experiment, our researchers have authenticated that photograph. It was a case of prop damage, and it occurred on an airfield in Australia.
Well, then that would be myth confirmed.
Myth confirmed.